Yep.
Putting lots and lots of books. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to ask everybody right now to not have your computers, to have, since I did give everyone a physical copy of this, to close computers, except Kurt's working on getting me some copies printed, and just look at this document.
If it doesn't print, haven't had no problems.
So make sure you have one. There's extra copies by Kelly.
Well, I haven't had this problem before. This is a new one.
Do you want a color pen?
You want me to print?
Sure.
No, I'll read something.
Okay.
What are you
So
trying to tell me?
several of you, I want everybody looking at this to make sure we're very, very clear on this. I want on non-distractions because this is important. Everybody understands how to read the schedule. I think those of you that were with us last year probably understood how to read it, but some of y'all might have made it through the year still not understanding it. Okay. When I create a benchmark schedule, this is just benchmark. This is not STAAR. Understand that there were some law changes last year with STAAR, and they changed some things such as you can't test on a Monday. So if you remember the big testing week, the testing was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Honestly, Larry, you could just get like anywhere around here and get my boys.
At this point, Dr. Rutledge, it's a mission.
Okay, all right. So when we do STAAR testing, we will have 3 weeks of STAAR testing. We will have the early week that is 5-8 math reading, 4-7 writing, English 1 and English 2. That is the first week. The reason they do those early, so everybody's on the same page, they do 5-8 math reading early because it's an SSI year. They test again at the regular testing date if they don't pass. They do 4-7 writing early because there's a essay that has to be graded and takes longer to grade. And they do English 1 and English 2 writing because there are short answer sections that also take longer for grading. That is the reason we do those a few weeks earlier than the rest of the test. Then there is an EOC week, which is typically like first week in May, and that is algebra, biology, U.S. history, English 1 and English 2. Those are the 5 EOCs that students have to pass to graduate. So there's an EOC week that's for testing. And then there will be a big testing week. Everything that has not been tested before, plus retesting for 5-8 math reading that did not pass, all happens in that big week. So that's the 3 weeks. All right. For benchmark testing, we have done 3 weeks in the past. I tried to condense as much as I could this time and got permission to just do 2, which is kind of early week testing, and then later EOC wrapped up with other testing kind of week. It does make it where we have more testing rooms than what we have inside this building. So one testing room will be out in one of the portables. I think it'll be just fine. But there was no need in shutting down campus to try to fix that problem. So we will make that work. If you look across the top, it's the grade levels. And then the next thing is the total number of students in that grade. As of yesterday when I put those. My copy will continuously change because these numbers change. I will continue to change these numbers as we go through the test. At the bottom, you're going to see when you go across, it's going to have the day. So Monday's an A day. It was very important. I understood whether it was an A day or B day. That determines the staff that we have on campus. The date, the room and teacher assignment for that particular grade on that day. The student groups that you have, because sometimes it may be when we get into retesting, it may be that you have 8 reading and 5 reading. So you have 8th graders and 5th graders in one. That's why I put student groups. And then student numbers. Those are the exact number of students that will be testing on that day for that test. If you slide over all the way to the right in the purple, those are all students that do online STAAR testing. So for the real STAAR test, they will be on computers with headphones doing online testing. For benchmark, they will not have an online test, but they will be with Ben in the same room that they will be with Ben doing online testing. They will just be taking a paper test with him, and he will be reading things as needed and things like that to them. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. They do get a small group for testing. We just don't have an online benchmark. So that's the reason there's, well, at the time, 22 4th graders and 21 in the room testing with Swanson, because one, if you look way over, there's one 4th grader, initials VP, is testing with Ben for online. Does that make sense? You understand like where all this is? If you look at it, it looks kind of crazy. And then the next day is a B day, which is a Thursday. I intentionally made testing where it would only take one A day and one B day in the first round, and one A day and one B day in the second round. That way it takes as little class time away from other people as possible. So when you look at it, what you need to do is kind of find your name, right, and where you are and what you're testing. That will be more than likely what you are testing when it comes to start time as well. The only changes could be high school. I went ahead and had Larry test Algebra 1. I know he would prefer to do that. I had Buckland test English 1. I don't know what days of the week those tests will be on. I have a tentative calendar, but they have changed things up toward the end, and so I'm not worrying about a schedule for STAAR yet until I see exact dates. If that is a dual credit day, someone else will be actually testing Algebra for STAAR, and same thing with English, unless the dual credit teachers have a way to work that out where someone else is in their room or something like that, and we can switch it up. So we'll discuss that at a later time.
Thank you. Ooh, it's even stapled.
Okay, everybody looking at calendar.
Yes, sir.
If you have phone or computer or anything like that, I want you to put it up. I want you to 100% give me this 20 or 30 minutes, 100% looking at what we're doing. Yeah, perfect. If you are a STAAR administrator for a set grade level, I've given you a manual for that grade level with your name at the top. I would suggest going ahead. That is a new one. Going through it, flagging, numbers of where you start, instructions, where you stop. You can highlight, you can mark, whatever you want to do on that. I have an extra of each grade level set in case a different administrator goes in the room that day. We had that happen, last year. But it is your responsibility to keep up with that manual through the end of the summer, because there is summer testing sometimes for 5-8, and it may not be Morgan testing 5 math just because she's 5 math. It may be somebody else testing that. So keep up with those manuals throughout the summer. We will have a more detailed test administrator training with like a big PowerPoint and all that, and everyone will be in the room at the same time for sure. Before we do our first round of STAAR testing, this is going to give you just kind of an overview, and you're going to be real familiar with it from then. There's one change already. If you look at your chart here, okay, week 1, February 6th, that's a B date on a Thursday. Everybody see that? 6th grade will be on the NASA field trip. So there will be no one with that class that is not needed. That group won't be here that day, but White and Earl will be with them. So we are going to have to get a sub to go into 127. It's a non-testing group, right? Non-testing, so it doesn't matter who goes in there. And DeWitt is going to do the testing for 8 reading. So y'all can mark that on yours. I will also change it on the original and update it in Google Classroom. I'm constantly taking that one off and putting the new one on, taking it out and putting the new one on. So I may just put like a Google Drive link to the file so you can see it as it's active. So you should be able to see that. At the bottom, you're going to see the color codes. It's important as a test administrator if you know that there's supplemental materials. If it's coded yellow, that means there's no supplemental materials. If it's blue, calculators need to be ready and charged and cleared of memory for that particular class. I'd like for that to be 1-to-1. If 25 students that day, I'd like for every one of them to have a calculator. Dictionaries, same way. We should have enough dictionaries on campus for it to be 1-to-1. I know the dictionary policy says it has to be 1-to-5,
5.
I think, but that's ridiculous. We have enough dictionaries for every kid to have one at their desk. I would encourage teachers to make sure students know how to use the dictionary to help improve their scores while they are taking the test. That's important.
B, so she get her English to Vietnamese dictionary no matter what.
I will go back and read the dictionary policy. Let's just go ahead and give it to her on benchmark for sure. I'm not pretty sure yet.
Because she uses it most any time with us.
I think so. Those kind of little things, I always just send to Brian Weaver and say, "You for sure on this?" And he looks everything up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. And then if it's purple, it's online testing. Obviously, we don't have online benchmark. And then if it's green, sometimes we have like a non-STAAR activity going on. That's like a set thing for that grade level. Then I would highlight that green so you would see that. We did some CPR things and things like that during there. I don't have that on here this time. This is so condensed that we just don't have the extra staff to do anything different right now. Then I have helpers listed out. The helpers are there for a variety of reasons. And I know I have Richmond and Fisher listed as helpers, and they're also on the chart for testing. But if you notice, Richmond on week 1B day, he's a helper, not a test administrator. And for Fisher, week 2B day, she's a helper, not a test administrator, or with the class. Okay? If you look across the top, you're going to see the teacher lunch times. I cannot guarantee even give teachers a 30-minute lunch during STAAR testing. I can never guarantee that. It is only if you have the people to go into relief. It's been very important that we have tried our best to give teacher lunches. This particular year, for benchmark, we're going to do 20 minutes. I think we were able to do 30 minutes in the past, but looking at keeping K2 on their normal schedule, right? It's very important that we don't affect K2. They have nothing to do with any of this, right? And it's not fair to change their day, really and truly. We all, everyone, 6 and up, has some kind of testing, and so it's okay that we're all in it together in what we're doing. 30 and up, sorry, yeah. And, but K2 is going to stay on a regular schedule. So Weisenburn, if you notice, on A and B days, she's going to have K2 PE, then K2 lunches. Jan will not be doing the lunches. You and Harris will. Keller will. Then you and Keller, if you look, those are very similar. We'll have a personal lunch from 11:10 to 11:30. Then you will cover 4 teachers. Keller will have to cover teachers that are non-testing because she's not a certified teacher. Weisenburn will cover teachers that are testing because she is a certified teacher and can go in a classroom when there is a testing environment. There's no more than 4 testing at a time anyway. The first few weeks. The second week there is, and it's benchmark. When there's STAAR, there won't be more than 4 at a time. All right, and they don't finish. They have back-to-back PE lunches, their lunch, and then it goes to 11:30. So you'll see the 20-minute lunch spots on there. So they will cover you for one of those 20-minute lunch spots. I don't know if we can guarantee when. Just know that they are back-to-back. So if yours is over at 11:50 and you come back at 11:55, then you cut 5 minutes out of your next person's lunch. So it's enough time really to go to the bathroom, grab your lunch, and get back in class. That also is outside of the window of when student lunches are. If you remember for STAAR, we take Jan, I wanted everybody not to do anything but look at schedule right now. Make sure everybody's on the same page. During STAAR testing or during benchmark testing, we are going to do student lunch from 11 to 11:30. And when you look at the procedures guide, when we get to that, it will say that in there, okay? I never want someone covering a teacher during student lunch. That is the absolute worst time for someone to go in the room that's not a certified teacher and familiar with the kids. Because they have taken part of their test, they have a lunch break for which they close their test and their answer booklet and sit it on the table, and they cannot discuss content of the test. Which means during that time, the teacher is actively monitoring conversations during student lunch and shutting anything down that's discussion about the test. That's a big violation. Make sense? That's the reason we're not covering you for lunches during student lunch. We want you actively monitoring. That's very critical time. Then after you give the test back for after lunch, we usually test for about an hour after lunch. That's when you'll be out for about 20 minutes during that time for teacher lunches. Hopefully we can do the same thing for STAAR. If everyone is here, we will be able to. If anyone is absent, including aides and any staff members is absent, we will not be able to give everyone a 20-minute lunch, maybe a 10-minute break. Because we're down to person to person. Everyone has a specific set place. As a tester, if we're taking lunches in that window after the students eat and the end of testing, 12 to 1, that's when students are going to be finishing up and turning stuff in. Just hold that. Let's talk about that when we get to the procedures guide, okay? That's a good question. You're probably going to ask if they're going to turn them into the person that's in there or track them or whatever. Let's talk about that in just a second. The next thing Sartain will be bathroom monitor. She will be kind of middle of the hallway taking passes from kids only one at a time into the bathrooms. She will also be looking for a teacher in need of assistance signs. So she may be sitting at a desk taking bathroom passes, but she will also be walking up and down the hallway periodically to make sure someone hasn't put out there in need of assistance. If you put it out and you're like really bad in need of assistance, you may want to get her attention and tell her you're putting it out there. Does that make sense? Because she can't really see on all the doors all the time, but she will be looking for those and taking bathroom passes. Whoever is an office runner, that's who will go get the attendance slips off the doors. We'll talk about those in a minute. That's on our procedures checklist.
One pass per class, right? Not one boy and boy.
Yeah, I'm going to show you that in just a minute. Whoever is the office runner for that time, Richmond, you're one on one day, Fisher, you're one, Harris, you're one. Y'all will sit at the brown desk in the office.
Okay.
That way, as soon as we need something, we say it to you, you go do it. We don't have to know where you are or look for you, anything like that. You're just right there. You can sit and work on your stuff. I don't have a problem with that, but we know right where you are. Other classes at the bottom, it just designates pretty much where PE and things like that are for these coverage. 11-12. On the A dual credit days, 11-12 dual credit will go as scheduled. The only difference is the Edgenuity students that come over here to Mr. Earl will have to stay over there. Karen has study halls from 8 to 11 pretty much, so they can just stay in her study halls. And then you don't have anything now when they all go to her on dual credit, so then the non-dual credit ones will go to you and you will keep them in 209 until 12:20, which is when that is over. They will come over here and we will figure out what to do with them at that time if we are still testing, right? Some days we're already done testing, so I hate to make that plan until it's needed. All the online may be tested by then. If so, they can go in the conference room with them.
We could probably hold them over there if we
We
need.
could probably hold them over there. So we need to just communicate that as it develops, but at least gives you a plan for 12. On the non-dual credit day, we're going to put the 11th and 12th graders in Mathis Hall. Susan's aware. She knows we're going to be there. We're only going to use 208 and 209, not 211. And Kalk and Harris will be over there with them. So they will not be here assisting. Kalk will be in 208 with 12th grade, and Harris will be in 209 with 11th grade. That's going to be a study hall day for them. So they need to be working on dual credit, anything wrapped up for major classes. We're going to talk about in a minute about, as Karen loves to call it, the one-room schoolhouse, which means teachers are sending assignments to those teachers that are with kids all day long. Okay, so just know 11, 12, like Chris, you have them for a core content area. If there's something physics needs to be doing or working on, we need to communicate that to those people. There's my one-room schoolhouse person. I just said your name.
There's a helicopter on the highway.
You
And
conjured
they're
her.
swinging a chainsaw from it. I'm not kidding.
Where
And
at?
they stopped traffic so it could swing over our heads with this chainsaw. Awesome!
Sherman Tree for power line.
I don't think
So
that
we
you
got-
thought it was
They're doing that
awesome.
lineman stuff like
You ever
with
seen
my-
an airborne chainsaw swinging?
No, that's not
That doesn't
not
seem
upstairs.
like
There's something that somebody came up with. Let's do that.
Totally. Yeah.
You know what'd be fun?
So questions about, grab you a colored schedule right here and have a seat. Questions about schedule. Let's not procedures yet. Not procedures. Schedule.
Okay, so we had to figure it out, but we're missing week 2A day other runner.
Yeah, I know. We're just missing a spot, which just means it's going to have to be me.
I'll do it.
It's for the lunches.
You can't do that.
It's
We don't have anything else.
I
It's the
volunteered
lunches.
tribute.
That's all. Because I thought we had it figured out.
That's what I want to do.
But it's not there.
Yeah, you and Keller are doing teacher lunches every day. A's and B's.
Okay, but that's because that was the heavy testing day, and I didn't know what we had decided about her.
There's 8.
No, I know,
1, 2, 3,
but
4,
that-
5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So no more than 7. There's 8 teachers in 7 classes. She will have to go into classes that are actually tested.
Okay, that's what.
It's not STAAR, so there's not like a legal issue with that right now. But you know, when it's STAAR, it's going to be a different schedule. So I'll just figure that out when that comes. There may not be any more than 2 or 3 testing classes on any given STAAR day. Okay, questions about the schedule?
It's working hard.
It is.
It's something.
Yeah. I'm glad somebody else has it.
I can just say, because I'm a 10th grade for U.S. history, I know sometimes we think, oh, history, they'll be done in an hour or 2. But I can tell you there's at least 3 10th graders that are going to test the entire, in 3 hours and 59 minutes and
Yeah.
45 seconds that they have.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, testing, when we look at the procedures guide, we'll look at it in a minute. You'll see when testing kind of ends. So just expect for it to go that long every day. It may not, but it will. And on week 1, that's something we didn't designate on here because it's usually only just one day. On week 1, the English 1 EOC is a 5-hour test. And so is English 2. Well, we don't have English 2 this year, so it's just English 1. So one day, we will have 5 hours of testing. We will go right until the very end of school. But we will have been able to collect everything from everybody but that one class. And Karen knows it, and she's the one doing it. So, any questions about that?
There's some of that class that didn't take all 5 hours.
Yeah, then I
Yeah.
agree with
The English test does take that long.
Okay, next thing, let's look at the procedures guide. Again, I will update all this before STAAR because we will notice mistakes and things like that that needs to be fixed. But this is from last year. It's pretty, I looked at it. I changed a couple things. Is there an extra copy?
Yes.
Right here. Ms. Karen, you want to-
She gave me hers.
I volunteered.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So looking at the procedures guide, the before test day, you will want a paper copy of this. Teachers attend test administrator training, security oath certificates. So I have STAAR certificates from a lot of people. Some of you I've sent them back because they were not named correctly.
Is that you?
No, well, yes. Why do you change that format every single year?
Because I'm getting better at using Google Drive, and when I look for something, when I Googled STAAR training certificates from the last year, I had all kinds for you. Then I have to download the document from my Google Drive on my desktop, open the document to see what year it is. That's the wrong document. Now I got to put it in the trash. Now I got to empty my trash. Then I got to go back to Google Drive. But when I put the year,
Why didn't you
I
look
know
at
that's
the document from the email last year and find out what we called them and then Google
I'm just
that?
getting better
Very
at naming files.
very descriptive file names. That's a
I've
key.
got
Very
Whole,
descriptive
whole
files.
sentences. I've started.
That's
It just. Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, because when I used my desktop, it was so much easier, but now using Google Drive is very different. And I can search the whole drive without looking through folders much easier than I could on my computer. So the file names I've learned,
Very descriptive. Whole
I named
sentences.
something and then I've got it for 8 years ago. And I just, oh, that's
So
not
now I've got them from 8 years ago.
Better you
Hey,
than her.
it's because I wanted it that way. That's why I asked you to name it that way, because that's what I asked for. That's what I wanted.
Because I said so.
Because I said so.
She's the boss. You do what she says.
That's right. So if you did
For
name it
now.
correctly, I sent it back to you and asked you to name it correctly. Because again, if you didn't, then I had to download them to my computer, rename every one, upload back, put in the folder, and otherwise I just take your email and I drag over, done. And it orders them where I can say, here's the people it's done. Birdwell, Buckland, Cog, DeWitt, Earl, Johnson, Minton, Moran, Parsons, Rutledge, Sartain, Weisenburn, and White. Those are the only ones that's been named correctly and sent to me. The rest didn't have names in it at all. They were blank. But you have to follow my instructions, right, Jenny?
Are you talking about the naming
There was
convention?
nothing. It was a blank certificate.
I
The
can show
naming
you how to
convention
do
you
it
got
first.
right. So kudos
I
on
typed
that.
it in.
But you have to
Yeah,
type
and
it
that's
out
the same
on
problem.
the
It's
certificate
an order.
and everything.
It's
That's
an
what I'm
order.
saying.
You
I
have
typed
to-
my name in.
Correct.
I typed in
But
the
if you didn't
date.
do the exact steps that I sent
Okay.
you in the email, it will come up blank, and that's the reason I wrote the email like, and then,
I had the same
and
problem,
then.
Chris.
Print out the email with the instructions and then that way you don't have to go
No,
there.
it's,
Yeah.
it's fine. I understand.
You weren't the only one. Well, Jenny's were blank 2 times. She sent them to me.
Oh, I mean, I was
Maybe
ready.
3.
I was ready to leave my class and go. No, look, I have done.
I'm
not
not
again.
I typed
I
it
did
in
it right.
and saved it
Always
to my
have to change the
desktop.
format.
Can't do
And
that.
then
You gotta
I
save it to your
typed it.
desktop and
All
then type it
Becky's
in.
fault.
And then resave.
Got it.
Right? It's an ordering thing. Don't know why. I just know it happens every year.
All we would have to do is change
Um,
it.
So I need those STAAR training modules from everybody. You only do those once. That covers you till next year. So you're good to go on those. So we will sign the oaths. I don't know if you remember last year the confusing online thing, the signing the oath. And
Yes.
I just want to do it by paper, but I gotta see what's expected this year first before we do that. Become familiar with information in your manual. Look at rosters. I'm creating those right now and putting everything together in the buckets. Instructional materials covered in your room. This is a checklist that before testing day you definitely want to go through, reread, and kind of check. Make sure you have enough dividers in your room. Those probably need to be put in there ahead of time. You know, student little manila folder dividers. If we need to make some more, I can have Harris or some of them take some more together and make some. If you're doing online, obviously Ben knows what to look for that, headphones, that kind of stuff. And then also the things that were on there, the supplemental materials, if you're a supplemental material test. On testing day, 7:15 to 7:45 is when you will pick materials up in my office. Probably let's change that to about 7:25 to 7:45 because I'm usually not here that early, but I will try to. It goes very, very quickly. Y'all know what to do. You initial on the right date. I usually highlight the area to make sure you initial on the right thing. I carry whiteout to make sure I white out where Larry initialed where he was supposed to. And then I change it over. And you'll initial, check the materials out. I'll give you the bucket. Take it to your room. Don't leave those testing materials alone either. This is a good practice for STAAR. All right, you go to the bathroom, bucket goes to the bathroom. Like those kind of things. Don't leave it in your classroom and go do something else. Pretend like it is STAAR materials. 7:35, students are arriving between, at that time or later. 7:35 to 8:15, this is that time where as students are coming in, you're having them do these things. They're putting jackets, lunch kits, backpacks, wherever you've told them they go in the classroom, but not at student tables. There should be nothing on the desk except if they have a bottle of water or a cup of water that they bring with them, they can take that out. We will not hand out bottled water for benchmark and go for STAAR. If they have a small snack in their backpack, they can put that out on their desk and eat. We will hand out snacks for STAAR testing. If they bought a book to read, okay, that's one of those things that kids kind of know when they're benchmark testing. Let kids know this is coming up. If they brought a physical book to read or borrowed one from Miss Earl or Miss Buckland or have one in the room, there needs to be a parking lot kind of for those. They need to put a sticky on it with their name. We put sticky notes and Sharpies in your bucket, which need to get returned in your bucket. Okay, so that's there every single time. Reading the book during a test or before the test is not allowed. It is only after they have turned their test in for good, not for lunch. Make sense? Encourage them to use the bathroom when they first get there during that kind of pack-up time or unpack time. You're going to mark attendance. It says half sheet in your box, which actually, I don't have any of the half sheets in here. You're going to get a folder like this with your name on it. This is your testing folder. You're going to have a little half sheet loose in here. It's a little skinny half sheet for attendance. That needs to be taped on the outside of your door. All right? Usually tape on the outside of your door by 8:15. Those times are very important because whoever my runner is, I'm going to go send them for them at 8:15.
Do you want me to put those up?
No. I specifically said that already. You will not do that. Whoever the runners are will do that. Inside the folder, you're going to have dictionary policy, calculator policy, in case you have any questions about that. You're going to have the electronic device oath. That's always a good idea to read this to them as well. Before STAAR, we will actually have you read this to them and they will sign off on it. Okay, basically, if they're hiding their cell phone in their pocket, it goes off. On benchmark, we just scold them. But if it goes off in STAAR, it could invalidate your STAAR test and they could see it. If you don't know what they had in their pocket, they don't want to look at it. So that's important to tell kids. You have 2 restroom passes. You have a testing restroom. All this is from last year, so if it's dirty, just deal with it. I haven't had time to make all the new copies. Testing restroom pass, this is what Jane's going to be looking for, is the orange ones. She knows if she gets a green one, that classroom has turned in all the materials. So when you turn in your folder, you won't turn in the green one to me. I will have more copies to throw a new one in your folder. Okay? That green non-testing restroom pass is for non-testing classes. And for classes that finished testing and have turned all this stuff in. Make sense? Hold that question for a second. If you need help, you will take the orange paper and you will tape it on the outside of your door. You will also try to make eye contact with Miss Sartain, which will be in the hallway. What color did I say?
Orange, just purple.
I had to rewrite in my mind. Purple.
That's confident.
And then the yellow, got that on that. Testing, do not disturb signs will go outside your door or doors if you have more than one before you start testing. Only if you're testing room. Okay, that's what's in here. You will also get the sheet where you do the seating chart. Everybody familiar with that? The little seating chart. So
Mhm.
right at the top, you draw the seating chart. You list all of your students' names. There's no booklet numbers this time, but in STAAR, you'll write down all the booklet numbers. And you need to designate on every student. It's very important in benchmark. You designate when they finish the test. When they actually finish the test and when they turned it in, it's 2 different times. Please designate that, because that needs to go back to their core academic teacher. If Larry finds out a weak math student only took 30 minutes to finish the Algebra 1 EOC, he's going to do some work with that student on time management and how they need to go back over questions. That's an important piece of information before they actually take the test. Make sense?
Mhm.
So please that's very, very helpful to the teachers, and we'll give that information back to the teachers. Karen.
I just want to add smart watches and stuff, because a lot of kids got, I know in high school, a lot of kids look like they got that for Christmas this year, especially more so in the past. And there's watches that aren't just Apple watches, there's something, it's just not in the procedure. I'm sure it's in I think it's in our social policy.
Yeah, so what the device policy says, if you read this out loud to students, on state assessment day, students are not allowed to possess a cell phone or other telecommunication electronic device, including but not limited to cell phones, iPads, MP3 players, or other handheld electronic devices. I will try to change that maybe and add smartwatches, calculator watches.
Well, I told them if it has buttons that can be pushed or it can make noises, it's got to go. That's generally the policy. That
Show me, Morgan.
And
Okay, so in here, basically that's the next, if you flip over, that's the next thing. Remind students of the policy. Fill out your seating chart on that paper. Put up the dividers. Give students highlighters, pencils, scratch paper, all of those supplies that are in the bucket. They will get, you'll get a bag that looks similar to this. Kelly's been putting these together. There will be 2 pencils, 1 eraser, 1 highlighter, 2 strips of paper per student. Also in the bucket will be 1 Sharpie and 1 sticky notepad for you to mark books or lunches or phones. Yeah.
You might want to go ahead and put smartwatches in here too, just in case.
Somebody send me that in an email.
On it. We're not supposed to get our phones. I don't know what you're doing.
Just for a second. Just send me that.
It's a quandary.
All right, and so here's all the rest of the check marks. Down 8:15, 8:30, distribute testing materials, pass out supplemental aids. These page numbers, I don't know if those are going to be accurate for the new manuals. I'll have to, Amy Dennis is buried on top of this kind of stuff, and I always just wait till she sends out what it is, and I just copy and paste it. Last line of directions, and read if this testing begins. So you'll record your start time when they answer the big sheet. That's very important because all 4 subjects only get 4 hours, no more, except for English 1, and they get 5. So if the student comes in late, their start and end time is a little bit different. You're going to use the board to tell students how much testing time is left. You can write up here, you have 4 hours, and 3 hours, and 2 hours, and 1 hour, and 30 minutes, and 15 minutes, and whatever. Help your students during benchmark pace themselves. You can do that in benchmark. You cannot on STAAR. So that is a training opportunity to help pace themselves. You can say more to students during benchmarks. Okay, that's the one thing that's going to be a little different. When you did the training, what's a blank answer document in STAAR? If you see a student get off on bubbling, you can't tell them. I don't even know how you'd recognize it really by seeing them work. Or if they left 2 or 3 blanks, you can't do it. I do not. Here's in the camera too. I do not want to see 1 blank spot on any student Scantron at any grade level on benchmark.
Mm-hmm.
What do I not want to see?
Anything blank.
on a benchmark.
Not 1 blank answer on anything on a benchmark. That's teacher's responsibility before you turn the materials in. Because we don't want to see it on STAAR either. We can't say anything, so now we can. And you tell that student when you go, you mark that answer, Chris. And on STAAR, I can't tell you this, but I'm going to look at you like this. And that means you better mark all of those answers. You don't leave anything blank. You are not penalized for incorrect answers. You're only given points for correct answers. Very important testing strategy. Always verify anyone who enters the room has been trained. Again, that's a little different for benchmark, but for STAAR training, that's why only 3 out of the group of relievers that we have, unless it's Chris or Larry, on those days that they're helping, can relieve you for lunches, because a non-certified teacher like Ms. Harris cannot come in during STAAR testing and relieve you for lunch. I've got a question on you. I sent it in. I said, is Morgan a real teacher or not?
Nope. No.
You have a certificate, so I think so. I did send an email just to verify. I know the last time we kept the benchmarks. Every time a reliever comes in your room, there's a little spot for them to sign on that sheet. Remember, there's like a little spot they sign time in, time out when I come in or anyone comes in. Remain seated at all times. If students need something, they raise their hand. You come to them instead of they come to you. Actively monitoring all the time. I'm not going to say you cannot have a cell phone during benchmarks, but everyone in the building that day, I should never see anyone doing this. Right? Just the reality is you shouldn't be on computers or phones or anything else that you're doing outside of actively monitoring, because this is really the time in benchmarks to give teachers feedback. I can guarantee you Samantha Swanson and Abby Downs, for writing, especially when they're writing those essays, they want to know if a kid, did they do the outline thing they're supposed to do? Did they do this? Did they write a rough draft? Did they transfer it to a full draft? Did they write it all in 2 minutes? Did it take them 4 hours to write the whole essay and now they didn't answer it in the multiple choice? Like, they've got to know those things, because those are things they got to work on, with the kids. So really good important feedback on your actively monitoring. Lunch will be at 11 o'clock. You will have to stop the time. It will go from 11 to 11:30 for everyone. Student lunch, they cannot discuss the test. That is a good practice time for them. It is always the teacher that is testing in that room. No bathroom breaks during that time or anything, on the teacher in there the whole time. Testing will resume at 11:30, assuming your class is not all completely finished. Now, Kurt, I think all the rest of the things are just when you turn test in. We'll talk about that in more detail for STAAR, because benchmarks aren't like, there's not like the numbers, they have to go a certain order and that kind of stuff. I would alphabetize the Scantrons. There'll be 2 rosters. There'll be a roster in your box with a label bent upwards, and then there'll be one with your Scantrons. I will keep that roster with your Scantrons so that as you turn them in, we can be scanning them so that you can get your benchmark results as quickly as possible. I believe your question would be valid now, because I think you were going to ask about during when the teacher has a lunch break. Tell me what you're going to ask.
I was just going to make the observation that's a tough time for the teacher in the room to be out for lunch,
Yes.
because there are so many procedures we have to follow, and not that those people coming in to relieve the teacher aren't aware of those. They vary teacher to teacher, especially in content area to content area. So I think when we get closer to the actual STAAR testing, we have a very clear, precise routine that everybody's doing the same thing.
Let's start that routine right now.
Okay.
When Tori,
I do not pick up testing
there you
material.
go. She already
I
knows,
say you wait for blah 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 to
Right.
get back.
and she's going to talk to Keller about that too.
And
So,
also, like
It's only 20 minutes.
That's I like that. If I'm the tester, I want to pick them up.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't touch it. Like, if I notice if you're recording what time they stopped, or like I see you have notes, I will continue those notes. I mean,
It's the easiest procedure to enforce for
Yes.
sure.
That's right.
Whatever you got going, I do that too.
Yeah. So if I
Every
say
day is different.
Mhm.
and I
This
know
last
that.
morning I'm finished with my test, she can mark my end time down, but she's
Yes.
going to go, you need to wait till Miss Coffee gets back in the room to give me my test materials to her.
And
Just
I mean,
close
for
it,
the
put
most
it on
part,
your
they
desk.
all pretty much know that. I
Yeah.
don't pick anything up.
Good point. It's only 20 minutes too. Probably actually a few
So,
minutes
with
less.
that being said, now that we're talking about that, teacher lunches start at 11:30, but if student lunches are over at 11:30, can I pass out materials?
Yeah, the student needs to start testing again at 11:30. So the materials should have Student lunches don't need any more than 20 minutes in either. 25 at the most. A few minutes, get your lunch out, eat really quick, get up and stretch. I encourage students to stretch, some class stretching, and then get the materials and get busy again. I mean, it should be 30 minutes, start to finish. So at 11:30, the materials should already all be back with the student.
And you don't want them going to the bathroom during lunchtime.
Students going to the bathroom?
Yes.
They can go to the bathroom during lunch. That actually would probably be a good time for the students to go to the
I thought
bathroom.
you
can only
said
do one
so
at a
also.
time.
Us.
Oh,
Yeah, teachers don't. I don't want you actively monitoring. I don't want someone in there covering you for any reason.
Right.
during the student.
I don't go to the bathroom.
No potty breaks. Students, yes, that's a great time. So you understand the timing. 4 hours testing is 4 hours testing. If they go to the bathroom 5 times and spend 10 minutes in the bathroom, they've lost 50 minutes of that 4 hours. It's a quick math, isn't it?
It is.
Did you go?
Multiplied effectively.
So it's very important, those kids that need to go through. And JN can kind of help monitor that. If JN sees 3, well, she can't do it for boys, but if she sees 3 girls stack up at the bathroom, she could go and stand with the door open, stand watching the stalls and say, all 3 of y'all go in and go to the bathroom quickly. And you stand right there and she's listening. And if there's no talking and they all come back out, that was fine. But, it's harder for her to do.
What about using the little kids' bathrooms?
For boys? They're going to be in and out of them constantly. And sometimes little kids don't lock the door, so I hate for a big kid to walk in and the kid have the pants down. And then, we just know. We're going to keep that separate.
Will the younger grades still be going out for recess through the hallway during testing? Do we have an alternative route to take them out the other way?
Yes.
So funny.
We hadn't talked about that, but yes, they will have to go through the hallway, but I'm going to say that I've noticed with the paras and Tori and teachers, I've seen them lined up in the hallways lately, and they have been completely quiet and had an excellent line.
I agree.
So that is what has to happen during testing. I don't want them walking all, then what if it's pouring down rain? We need to get used to the procedure. They need to know we're testing. They need to know it's critical to be quiet that day. Those kinds of things.
And they need to stay all the way up towards the front, too. Not that they don't. I'm
The
not saying
playground
that.
noise really doesn't trickle down, I don't think, into the classes. That's the reason we put the playground toward where the
Right.
younger classes were, so it wouldn't interfere with our testing. So I don't think that's a problem. And if they had to do indoor PE, they would be very quiet, go outside, they're going to the cafeteria, and no one's going to hear that noise either. So it's just the walk in the hall.
Just to make sure we also close the
K2 teachers need to close their classroom doors. Sometimes they leave those open. They need to keep those closed during these testing days. Chris?
Okay, so for the non-testing classrooms, when our students need to go to the bathroom, are they going to be using one of those passes, or
They're
they
going to
can
use a
just
green one.
go?
They're going to use a green
They're
pass.
going to use a green pass.
Yes, they're going to use a green pass. And if JN has 3 non-testers up there to go to the bathroom at the same time, she can send them all in at the same time. Right? That's the reason for the different colors of the passes. Even if she has 3 non-testers and 1 tester, if they're pretty different ages, it probably doesn't matter either. For benchmark, I'd be a little more cautious for STAAR. Another good question, it hadn't been brought up, but then you think about it when Chris said non-testing classes. Core content teachers need to send those teachers assignments for students because they're with those students 4 or 5 hours sitting in the room. So that's when for Google Classroom or whatever, for example, well, 3rd grade, Shelley's just going to keep teaching 3rd grade, right? That's easy. 4th and 5th is testing. 6th grade, DeWitt has 6th grade for the first day. That means Abby needs to send him ELA assignments. He's got them for his own math time. Jenny can send him some science assignments. They need to be posted on Google Classroom. So that teacher really needs a good plan to keep those students active and busy and quiet.
They're going to miss a day that week. So they
What?
short. They're going to miss a day that week for the field trip.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's
they
good.
need it's a Thursday.
So be familiar with the schedule, too, of when you said, like 8th grade, Larry.
Yes,
With
ma'am.
Why that first day, you obviously are going to do some algebra things online for them. So they know.
You know it.
At least an hour, I'd say, for each of the core subjects. Questions about that? This was a very quick. I did it as quick as I could. I went over 15 minutes, but
Done?
yes, I'm done.